I found the most common journaling mistakes to show you how anyone can make the journaling 10 times more effective, no matter if you are just starting or are an experienced journal writer. Now, every journal has one thing in common. The very first entry was the worst. We didn't know what to write, the words were dull and meaningless, and we felt ridiculous the entire time. But it is so important to break through this barrier of writing your first couple of entries, which is the first mistake when journaling. Trying to make your writing too perfect out of the fear that it will not be good enough. Many people put it off and eventually never write a word. When starting off, don't think of it as this massive, life-changing habit that you are about to form, and that if you fail, you are a failure. That is not true. A journal is a space for you to be messy, imperfect, and unfiltered. That's my daughter's entry, by the way. So don't worry about grammar, punctuation or spelling, just write. For more advanced journaling, there is a way to get deep and powerful insights within just 1 or 2 journal entries. I'll get to that in a bit. So once you manage to write your first entries, you will almost certainly come to a point where you write and write, but somehow your journaling doesn't seem to solve your problems. Which brings us to the next mistake. Starting with unrealistic expectations. Granted, the evidence that journaling may have a huge impact on your life is massive, and maybe that is why you want to do it properly. But if you start writing because of a big specific goal, like turning your life around, you will struggle, because that is not how it works. Journaling is a tool for self-reflection and self-discovery. It is not a magical spell that will suddenly change your subconscious programming or relieve you of your anxiety. The process of journaling is more important than the results. And forcing yourself to change will distract you from allowing your thoughts and emotions to flow. A better way is to decide which direction you want to go with your journaling and keep the guide rails as small as possible. Which brings us to the next mistake. Focusing on the wrong journaling process. Don't get me wrong, every type of journaling is better than not doing it at all, but often you have an idea of how your journal must look like, and you will find yourself trying to stick with it. For example, bullet journaling, which is focused on planning and organizing, using symbols, lists, trackers, all to help you with productivity and goal setting. Another form is a diary, where you kind of record and reflect on what happened on that day. It is used for keeping track of meetings, goals, and tasks and such. And yet another form is so-called shadow journaling, which is a more introspective practice. It focuses on processing emotions, exploring personal issues, and self-discovery. Now, it certainly will not kill your results if you choose the wrong format. Just being aware that, for example, a daily to-do list or habit tracker will not necessarily help you with discovering the root causes of your negative emotions. Journaling for mental health is, in my experience, more painful and harder than journaling for organization and planning, but it is also way more rewarding. The main reason for this brings us to the next mistake. Honesty is key to an effective journaling practice. Don't censor yourself or sugarcoat your emotions. You should write from a place of authenticity and vulnerability, especially if you write for mental clarity. I found it most useful to imagine that I step out of my body and take on the perspective of a neutral observer. Now, this can be especially hard when you think about emotionally charged situations, but it is absolutely necessary to pull yourself out and start observing. Sometimes this is referred to as thinking under fire, meaning that you develop the ability to mentally stand next to your upset self and observe the emotions without judging them. Now, this brings us to the next mistake. While it is important to be honest about your emotions, constantly focusing on the negative can lead to a downward spiral. You are very likely to get trapped if you fail to observe how you feel and instead let your negative emotions take over your journal. Also, many people only turn to their journal when they are upset or experiencing a difficult time of sorts. This will just give your negative feelings more charge and will set you up for even more negativity. While reflecting on the past can be helpful, dwelling on it too much can prevent you from moving forward. Now, instead, make it a practice to catch yourself being negative. You can even write it out. With writing it, you take on the observer perspective again. Try to balance your writing with positive affirmations, new insights, and solutions to problems. Journaling can be just as beneficial when things are going well. So use your journal to reflect on moments of joy, success, and growth. There is a way to guide your writing to specific areas that you want to look at, which brings us to the next mistake. If you're struggling to come up with something to write about, prompts or questions that you answer in your journal can be very helpful. A big benefit is that you can choose specific prompts for your most important topics. A well-known prompt to get you into a positive mood is, "What are you grateful for?" But there are also more specific ones. For example, if you want to get closer to your inner child, you might ask, "Which behavior was expected of me when I was little?" Or, "What was the main theme of my upbringing?" There are a ton of prompts available online, and since I am most interested in discovering the Hidden Life script, I have compiled a list of powerful prompts which I personally use regularly. I'll include a link to them in the description. Finally, one of the biggest journaling fails is giving up too soon. Don't expect instant results or transformation. Journaling is a long-term practice that requires consistency and patience. I suggest you keep writing, even when it feels hard or unproductive. And if you really want to kickstart your inner work, watch this video now.